This has already been an extended floor debate. I will focus my comments on 3 points. Mr. President, putting food into fuel tanks is yesterday's idea. Policymakers around the globe are realizing that biofuel production threatens global food security. It is among the worst forms of social injustice because it grossly distorts the price of both energy and fuel and food. People in poverty spend the largest amount, the preponderance of the resources on those two commodities, food and energy. Obviously, their livelihoods will be damaged most severely by this illogical and ill-conceived proposal. The low-carbon fuel standard creates a covert tax on fuel. Proponents of the standards originally stated that the primary reason for the implementation of it is to artificially increase the price of fossil fuels. They stated their reason to be to incentivize the use of alternative fuels and encourage other modes of transportation. The only question is, how much intentional fuel price increase will the low-carbon fuel standard inflict on Oregonians? The Oregon Department of Environmental Quality has estimated those costs to between 4 cents, 6 cents, 19 cents per gallon. Consumer and producer groups are estimating the cost to be between 30 cents and $1.06 per gallon. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. We do know 2 facts regarding the covert gas tax. First, each penny of fuel tax and related weight per mile tax generates between $26 and $27 million in annual highway tax revenue. So a 4-cent covert gas tax will cost Oregonians about $105 million a year. 6 cents calculates to an annual cost of about $156 million. The highest DEQ estimate, that is our Oregon DEQ, their highest estimate of 19 cents per gallon would add nearly $500 million to Oregon fuel costs at the pump each year. $1 billion in biennial biofuel cost increase. 30 cents will cost about $750 million each year, and $1.06 would cost Oregonians, Mr. President, an astounding $2.8 billion, almost $5 billion a biennium, if the highest estimates are right. We also know that almost all of the revenue generated by this covert gas tax will ultimately flow to producers of alternative fuels. It is my understanding that 13 of the 15 current suppliers of alternative fuels to Oregon are domiciled outside of Oregon. That vast sucking sound that we will hear will be almost all of this vast proceeds from this covert gas tax flowing out of Oregon to companies located in other states and other nations. This, Mr. President, may be the very definition of crony capitalism. What is certain is that not a single dime of that huge stream of revenue will pave a single square foot of highway or fix a single pothole in Oregon. Finally, regarding the fiscal impact statement, the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality reports their previously stated need for funding to contract for fuels and economic analysis is no longer necessary because the Pacific Coast Collaborative has supported region-wide studies to determine the impact of low-carbon fuel standards. Apparently, DEQ now expects to use the collaborative's data and will no longer require Oregon-specific funding for that purpose. Poignantly, both the low-carbon fuel standard and the Pacific Coast Collaborative are prominently named in the United States Department of Justice subpoena. That subpoena was issued last Friday pursuant to its ongoing criminal investigation of the governor's office. That criminal investigation is in part related to potential crony capitalism and environmental profiteering regarding the low-carbon fuel standard, the same issue today before us on the floor. Colleagues, I urge you to join me in voting no, an emphatic no, on this very, very bad idea. Thank you, Mr. President.